So I'm going to read a comment and then I'm going to try and respond to it. I really don't get it, no matter how many videos I watch. I guess what I really want is to just feel good, to stop suffering. Maybe waking up isn't the only way because I don't understand how to internalize it. No matter how many times I feel like this is it, finally this is it. I understand what I really want is for my circumstances to change. And I thought that if I woke up, circumstances would flow harmoniously on their own. That inspiration would just fall upon me. But I have no idea how to do it or not to do it, and it always gets so complicated. You said that you thought that everything would just happen harmoniously on its own, and inspiration would just fall upon you. That's actually an interesting thing to talk about, because where does inspiration and creativity come from? It needs to come from a source that brings in something new, right? Because when we're always caught up in the past, then we can only, when we are identified with the ego, and the ego is the past, then we are like prisoners, because we are imprisoned to our past. In our past, the ego can come up with ideas, but they're not new. They're just repetitions of the past. The ego is a thought construct and also a feeling construct that is like a mark of the past. And so when the ego comes up with an idea on how to handle this situation, how to handle that situation, then it can actually only repeat what has already happened in a new way, in a seemingly new color, but the thing is actually the same thing. So you said that you want to wake up because you think that once you have woken up, inspiration can effortlessly and harmoniously arise out of nowhere and fall upon you. And that's actually true. But waking up isn't really just a thing that happens one time and then you're just awake, you're someone who's awake, and then inspiration comes out of nowhere. You can't just wake up and then form a new ego that says, I'm awakened now. And then that ego has unlimited access to new ideas. Inspiration comes when you are willing to lay down your ego again and again and again and again. And every time you lay down your ego and you're open to the new, and that's where inspiration and creativity comes from, this unknown. It's a source that I would like to call the unknown or the void. It is just when you are just resting and your nervous system can actually calm down and you're just relaxing, and in that relaxation you become naturally absolutely clear. For example, have you ever had the experience of being stressed and you have a problem and you don't know how to handle it, and you're absolutely stressed and there's an absolute chaos in the mind, and then you fall asleep? After hours of overthinking, you fall asleep because you're just too tired and you surrender to the fact that you don't know how to handle it. And then you fall asleep and everything's bullshit. So you fall asleep. In the morning you wake up. You had like 2 hours of no thinking. And you wake up and all of a sudden there's an idea. You're absolutely clear on how you should look at the problem. And then you can actually solve it without drama. So, and you don't have to go into sleep. You can just meditate. Meditate in a way that you surrender to the activity of the mind and surrender to the activity of your emotions. So you are not trying to manage your thoughts. You're not trying to suppress or heal emotions in a way that you are, there's the emotion and I'm trying to grab it and do something with it so that it can heal, you allow real healing to happen. And you do that by surrendering. You're like a sailor on an ocean, and this ocean is dangerous, it has deadly waves, and you're not even trying to survive. You allow the emotions to punch you in the face. You allow the thoughts to get on your nerves, and you surrender to it. And when you are surrendering, then automatically everything can just regulate by itself. It's like digestion. You're not doing it. You're not digesting your food. And in that, real inspiration can actually occur. So there are glimpses where you suddenly find yourself in your living room, and everything looks it always looks like your living room, but something's different. There's like a big Satori moment where you feel like, I feel like everything's it's God, it's clear now, and then the ego's clinging to this situation, and then it wants to have that always, or it wants to say, I got it now, I'm enlightened now. I'm not like people who are unenlightened, because I have this experience and I want to keep this experience so that I can say I'm continuously enlightened always. But that's also just a moment that comes and goes. So real enlightenment is not really something that happens to you and then you have it always. So therefore you can't say, this is it, I finally get it, finally this is it. That moment doesn't really exist. You have moments like that, and then they go, and then your insight deepens, and then your perspective on what reality is changes in a way. It become your experience of reality changes, but not the state in which you are in. So there's no final moment where you finally get it. You have to surrender, 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 and live like that. So you also said, I guess what I really want is to just feel good and stop suffering. Many teachers say you just have to find awareness. So find awareness, and once you have found awareness, then everything will be fixed. But that's cold in a way, because when you have been through so much suffering and trauma and tension for decades, then your nervous system is damaged in a way. It's full of old emotions that still need to be processed. So just because you find awareness doesn't mean that it automatically solves everything. So you actually have to integrate this quality of consciousness into the physical part of life. So you're not just clinging to emptiness, but you're also willing to again step back into form and say, I'm going to do relaxation techniques now to calm my nervous system. I'm going to do breath work so that I can learn how to calm down and have easier access to just to it. So the access to it is not really something that you can earn, but it itself, the isness, the void, is something that is always accessible. It's always here and right now. But it's easier to stay here and right now when your nervous system is relaxed, because it's actually becoming a pleasant experience to experience the presence. When you know how to regulate your nervous system, for example, you can also experience the truth and the isness when your nervous system is dysregulated. It's just that it doesn't feel so satisfying. You want to escape it again, and then you keep on searching for the same thing that is actually present right now. But the search feels more satisfying because it gives you a feeling of, maybe I will find a video that tells me how to experience it without the pain. And actually, you have to go through the pain of being with it. You actually have to say, you know what? I'm acknowledging that my nervous system is damaged, and maybe I've just accepted it to such an extent that I'm not really aware of how damaged it is. So I have to first sit down, listen to the Zen masters who say it is here right now. You cannot find it because it's not far away from you, it's here. So don't find it, just acknowledge that you have already found it. You are in the midst of it. This is it. Now, when you are here, in the midst of it, in the truth, are you willing to stay with it even though your nervous system feels agitated? And when you're being here, something comes up, for example, boredom or emotional pain, loneliness, something that's repressed. And then again, for most people, the search continues because they still want to find a piece of information that will help them get rid of that pain. But truth embraces that pain. It doesn't make it go away immediately. If you want to find something that will make that pain go away, do some breath work and combine it. First, do some breath work so the nervous system can regulate, and then after that breath work, just be with the isness and see that there is no separation between you and this moment, because this body is also just like an object in this room, just like any other object. So it's not a subject in an objective world. It's an object in an objective world in which everything arises in the space and everything is made of it. So what you're maybe what you're looking for is this enlightenment experience where you we can investigate it right now and say, okay, let's take a look and see, is there even a self? Because enlightenment, I would say the definition of enlightenment is to recognize that there is no self. Life is just something that cannot be truly known with the intellect, but it somehow is, and it lives itself. There is nobody in life that has control over life. It's just life living. Isness ising. So the feeling of suffering arises when one form starts to believe that it has its own will. So life goes in this direction, but the self says, but I want it to go in this way. And it clings to this idea that it should go this way because it truly believes that it has any power over it, and therefore it doesn't flow with the Tao or the will of God. You know that the word Satan means adversary. It goes against the will of God, so to speak. It's an ancient, old way of speaking, but the will of God means it's just the will of life, where life goes. And the one little separate self that says it shouldn't go that way is basically Satan, who says, I'm going to change it. I'm trying at least. He won't succeed, but he won't succeed in the long run because life is going to outlive this form. So, but at least Satan is trying to go his own way, and therefore he's suffering because he's no longer feeling that he's part of the whole. So in order to recognize that there is truly no separate self with its own will, that it's actually just a made-up construct made of beliefs, made of impressions, made of experiences, memories, you have to investigate first. Okay, we start with consciousness. Are you conscious? There is consciousness, without any doubt. Now, is consciousness just here, or does it belong to anybody? And you will see that consciousness just simply is. It doesn't belong to anybody. You won't find, in your direct experience, you won't be able to find anybody who is owning that consciousness. And consciousness doesn't own anything. You will see that consciousness doesn't own thoughts. Consciousness just is and observes, and it is like pure love. It allows everything to be. It's like when someone says, I love fish, and then he eats the fish. That's not real love. So the one who says, I love fish, and therefore I allow the fish to swim in the ocean, that's the real love. That's what consciousness is doing. So consciousness doesn't own thoughts. It's not something that consciousness has. Thoughts appear in consciousness. Consciousness is just allowing it to be, and thoughts disappear. And they come and they go. So thoughts don't belong to anyone. They just are. They appear and disappear. Same thing with feelings. Is there anyone in your direct experience, or in the experience of consciousness, because that's who you really are? Is there anybody who owns feelings? Is there anybody who owns the sounds that you're listening to? Is there actually anybody who owns this body? And if you investigate your reality, you will see that this body just is. There is nobody separate from the body who could say, it's my body. Who is this my that you're referring to? Who is this my that says, my body, my thoughts, my feelings, my decisions, my actions, my reactions, my opinions, everything? Is there an I that owns that owns anything? You will see that there are just qualities of life: consciousness, thoughts, forms, actions, reactions. Nobody is here in the midst of life that owns anything, or that is in charge of anything. It's just a form that life is assuming that plays a role of being in charge of this thing happening, and then over time both things disappear, and then new things happen, and then it disappears. And once that becomes clear, you have to surrender. It's not even that you surrender, it's that I can't surrender because I don't exist. I is a construct made up by life itself. Therefore, who I really am must be infinite life. And maybe that realization will bring in the relaxation that you're looking for, and the inspiration that you're looking for. And if it's not clear, if the brain is still looking for a solution, just learn a technique that will make you relax and still. For example, maybe breath work, the Wim Hof method. Just meditation without trying to get anything from meditation. Just sitting and allowing yourself to have no insights, allowing yourself to be absolutely bored. And that will regulate your nervous system, and then you will settle down and come to the simple conclusion that this form is also just an arising that came from infinite life itself. And the most primordial quality of life must be consciousness. Or how should I say it? It is consciousness that is aware of the happenings of life, and therefore it is not me consciousness, my consciousness, my personal consciousness, but this consciousness is something that comes from impersonal life. And therefore the first thing that must have been there in existence before there was time or space must have been consciousness. Because consciousness is there first. It is always here, never changing, never moving, always watching, and not participating in this play of forms. It is not in time, it is not in space, it is watching time and space. Everything's moving and changing and being born and then going to die, and consciousness is always present, always the same, and therefore it is impersonal, and it must have been here always. It's you, but not you ego, not you person, not you who's watching the video, I mean, the very substance of reality itself. But understanding that conceptually won't make your body feel relaxed. So relax your body first, and then this insight can come naturally. Or maybe if the body is relaxed, then it is easier to watch videos like that and then get it. But if you are stressed and you're watching those videos to understand something, and then from that understanding you try to relax, then it could be very hard. Because that stress that lives in you is trying too hard to understand it mentally. Because again, it's using the ego, which is the past, to do something new. But the ego cannot do something new. So you need to relax first to allow newness to come in. And then you can absorb a video like that without reacting to it with your old belief system. But instead you're just open, you don't have an opinion about it, you're not thinking about it, you're just relaxing, and obviously I'm part of the whole. Actually, there is no I in the whole, there's just the whole arising as this. And I'm grateful because I can experience it from within. I am it experiencing itself from within. Obviously. Alright, so I hope this helps.